Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Switch to Movies. I'm your host Gurujot Singh, and we are here today with a special video that lenses on the upcoming season of summer blockbusters and all the exciting releases coming our way, which will definitely make those family get togethers of multiplex cinematic screenings all the more excitable and ever more cherishable. So, let's get started. Well, going into the season of sensational summer releases that is set to unwrap some exciting projects during the span of these 2 months, and which certainly have an high expectations going forward. And given the hype that these movies have generated, with all that is going around the legacy that these stories withhold, and all that is happening with its global marketing, the stupendous casts, and the massive storylines that these movies are set to uncover, which certainly has raised the bar of the box office projections, which is certainly very high for some of these movies. Beginning with the first major release for the summer that begins with the unveiling of The Flash, which happens to be a superhero flicker circling around DC's famous comic book character of the same name, and the movie marks the 13th installment in the DC Extended Universe and is directed by Andy Muschietti, the famed director for both the chapters of it that were released around the years of 2017 and 19 and left a distinct and astonishing footmark on Hollywood's most nail-gripping genre. The Flash's screenplay is written by Christina Hodson, and the film stars Ezra Miller in the lead role of Barry Allen, the boy behind the Flash's image-concealing mask. And the plotline of the movie revolves around the protagonist traveling back in time to prevent his mother's death, the course of which shambles him into an alternate reality, the one without the slightest trace of any metahumans. And while trapped in the dimensions of an alternate universe, Barry encounters forth with his younger self, with whose aid and that of an older Batman, along with the Kryptonian's castaway Supergirl, the protagonist charges forth to save the world from the repulsively restored tyrant of General Zod, with the intended intentions of then reuniting back with his very own universe. The movie that opened in cinemas on 16th of June surrounded positive expectations before its release for its flashy storyline, impeccably cast characters, and impeccable looking visual effects. The movie, however, has generally been receiving mixed reviews upon its release and has been criticized for its CGI and its third act, and has scored a rating of 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb with 66% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And the movie, that has been made at a budget of 200 to 220 million dollars, has accumulated $210.9 million so far, as per the recent numbers shown at the box office. The next big release of the summer spears forth with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, that stars Harrison Ford in his iconic role of the legendary archaeologist that sets forth onto his last and concluding mission as the artifacts obsessed professor. And the film, that is slated for its theatrical release on 30th of June, has many significant elements to look forward to, from that of Harrison Ford's astonishingly jaw-dropping de-aged element to the movie being the first in the series which is blent without the stroke of its original crafter, Steven Spielberg, although his shoes are filled by the very marvelous James Mangold, who is responsible behind the cinematic pearls of Logan and Ford v Ferrari. The film premiered at the 76th Cannes Film Festival on May the 18th of this year, receiving a 5-minute standing ovation. And although the early critical response of the film has been mixed so far, there have been strong praises pouring in for the performances of Harrison Ford, Waller-Bridge, and Mads Mikkelsen, as well as for John Williams' timeless musical score. The next big release of the summer is the smashing spectacle of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and sees Tom Cruise reprise his iconic role of Ethan Hunt, where he once again performs some death-defying feats to entertain his audiences, and the shooting for the film began in Italy in February 2020 but was halted due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but was resumed later that year and was wrapped up in the September of 2021. The movie is set to be released on July the 12th of this year by Paramount Pictures, with its sequel slated for a release on June the 28th of 2024. The film will also see Isai Morales play the primary villain of the film, where he will be seen portraying the character of Gabriel in the movie. And the film's plot revolves around Ethan and his IMF team embarking upon their most dangerous mission yet, where they are on a pursuit to track down a terrifying weapon that threatens the fate of humanity, and they must reach out to it before it ends up falling in the wrong hands. What follows this is a deadly race across the globe to protect the fate of the world at stake and an attempt to defy all the odds in order to emerge victorious from it. The movie happens to be the most anticipated release of the summer and had its world premiere at the Spanish Steps in Rome on June 19th, 2023, and the first reactions have hailed the spectacle as overwhelmingly phenomenal, with some going out to call it as the best installment in the series yet, and the movie that is already surrounding a huge hype leading up to its release for its phenomenal looking set designs and enthralling and nail-biting stunt sequences that sees Cruz jump off from a cliff full ablaze along with his motorbike, and Cruz hanging about after momently resorting himself to the safest rescue potion in sight and gets himself out of the clutches of a derailed and falling train wreckage. And the mammoothness of all of this, from the marvelous looking production design to the imperious looking cinematography, all of which looks to score out yet another smashing blockbuster for Tom Cruise. The next big release for July happens to be Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, and is his first outing on the director's chair since 2020's Tenet. And his new film revolves around the life of American theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, who works with a team of scientists during the Manhattan Project, leading to the development of the atomic bomb. And the film is based on the 2005 book American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin, and stars Cillian Murphy in the titular role of Oppenheimer, along with that of an incredibly assembled cast of Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, and Robert Downey Jr., who play pivotal roles in the film. The film happens to be the first occasion where portions of it have been shot in the IMAX black and white analog photography, along with being shot in the combinations of IMAX 65mm and 65mm large format film. And likewise his previous works, Nolan has focused on the use of extensive practical effects and minimal computer generated imagery, continuing his legacy as one of the most original filmmakers of his time. The movie has a huge buzz around it for its incredible cast and historical plotline and Nolan's signature hand to it, and the early reactions to the movie have called it as a terrifying experience where they are able to feel the horror that a nuclear war brings to the table, and the movie is able to capture the fearful essence of it and portray its terror, where some viewers, as described by Nolan himself, come out from the movie screening feeling absolutely devastated and that they can't speak after the experience, as there's an element of fear that's there in the history, and Nolan has picked up on a subject of extreme historical significance, which makes it one of the most notable and anticipated releases of the summer. The next big release for the summer happens to be Barbie, which is a fairy tale comical film directed by Greta Gerwig, who happens to be behind the film's screenplay as well, along with Noah Baumbach, and the film is circled around the famous Barbie fashion dolls by Mattel and is the first live-action Barbie film after several computer-animated direct-to-video and streaming television films, and the film stars Margaret Robbie and Ryan Gosling in the spot-focusing roles of Barbie and Ken, and the film, that has been made at a budget of $100 million, is set for a release date of July 21st, 2023, and happens to be one of the most major releases of the summer. With the spellbounding summer looking for a power-packed and sterling showdown, it is certainly to be treated along with some large scoops of softful ice creams that is sure enough to enlarge the exciting exuberance of these upcoming cinematic strides and make this gigantic saga one hell of a ride. This season is certainly on for those cinemas and stalls.